Live in all the places. Let you guys join up real quick. I'm getting all the links out. Let's see if I can get. All the links are out. Let me get the YouTube links. Right. All right, recording the threadcast. Got all the recordings. I think we're good. Welcome, everybody. Let's see if I can get this threadcast here too. Welcome in, Khan. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's going to be a fun day for everybody. Welcome in, Guri. Got all the dancing animals. Task is asking what kind of drinks will be served. Whatever drinks you want. I am drinking yerba mate. Not to get too crazy. Manager is already asking a good question. What will there be alternative routes when swaps are halted on one of the chains? Yeah, actually, with the new update, it's kind of nice because it'll automatically show you all the available routes. So, you know, if a route is down, it'll automatically show you that. It'll actually just not show you that route. It'll just show you the other routes. So it's kind of nice. It's almost like having kind of failover or like a kind of fail-proof system with extra levies in place. If a route is down, you'll be able to just use any other route in theory. So as long as other protocols are supporting that, which, between Thorchain, Maya, Chainflip, and Rango, we support most routes, and there's usually more than one route available for most, at least for most large assets. So what that means is that even if, one of the protocols is down or one specific route is down, you'll actually be able to pretty easily just choose a different route. So MM Online wants a dark beer. Not a beer fan personally, but whatever gets you through it. Some beers are good. When I was in Ireland, I had Guinness a lot. It was very good. So good that I'll never have it in the States. So I heard it's very disappointing. You've had the real stuff. Do it now, Lord Shaw says. Well, we will. We will do it very soon. I invited Task. I'm sure he's getting himself set up and squared away. I see him.
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you able to join the restream? I sent you a Discord link. Yeah, thank you, if you don't mind. Originally I was going to do only X Spaces, but then I decided to add YouTube and video in general, just because I wasn't gonna do a walkthrough, but now I do think I'm gonna do a walkthrough. So while we're live, I'll share screen, and obviously I can't do that on X Spaces. So having the other streaming platforms is necessary to get that done. Yeah, if you guys have any other questions, feel free to drop them while we get task up here and then get everything else going. But yeah, I mean, I think it's while we get tasking here, I'm gonna share screen and show you guys the new LeoDex. And today I've got quite a few announcements. So related to LeoDex, obviously, as well as in Leo and Leo in general, Leo the token. Oh, I see task in here now. But yeah, let's let me show you guys, without further ado, the all new LeoDex. Yes, I hear a little bit of echo on desktop.
Yeah, I just plugged in my phone, so I was.
Oh, okay.
Do you still hear the echo?
Yeah, I can hear myself talk through X Spaces. Oh, now it's gone. Now I think you're good.
Those are the voices in your head, and that requires therapy. I can tell you from experience.
Okay. I'll have to get some therapy going pretty soon. If this LeoDex update didn't go live today, I would definitely need therapy. But we are good to go. So it's not live on production just yet, because I want to be the first one to show you guys. But after we get off this live stream, you'll be able to experience it yourself. So yeah, like I was saying, without further ado, here is the all new LeoDex. So you can see here, I'm actually covering some of it, but there is a new Discord link in the bottom right, a little Discord icon. So that obviously is going to be very useful for support and bug fixing and whatnot. And especially with this update, there's just so many new things that we definitely need. We definitely need a quick and easy way for people to get access to the Leo Discord and be able to ask for help or report bugs or request new features. So having that in the bottom right, just something I'll mention. I think my camera's covering it for you guys, but just know that there's a little Discord icon in this bottom right corner, and it'll take you to the Leo Discord if you click it. So you'll notice that the page looks generally the same as the current version of LeoDex, but it's when you start doing things that you'll see that we've essentially rewrote the entire LeoDex application. So in order to integrate all these protocols and to back it up a little bit, prior to this update, we only had Maya protocol swaps on LeoDex. So we only supported Maya. With this new update, we have actually every single cross-chain protocol. So we have, Thorchain, Maya, Chainflip, and then Rango is an aggregator. So they're not their own cross-chain protocol. Actually, they're an aggregator of other protocols. And today they actually just announced that they launched sushi swap support. So the great thing about that is that as they continue to integrate and aggregate new chains and protocols, like Sushi Swap, Uniswap, and others, we also get access to all that liquidity and all those routes as well, because we have Ringo in addition to those other three big cross-chain protocols, Thorchain, Maya, and Chainflip. So in order to support all of these different protocols simultaneously, the old framework we had for quoting swaps and quoting balances and literally doing everything on LeoDex had to be rewritten. So this update is like we basically had to go back to the drawing board and rebuild LeoDex in order to have all the protocols. But now we're in a place where we have all the protocols, and if new ones do emerge, and I expect them to over the next coming years, we'll be able to support those as well without having to obviously rewrite everything. So you'll notice the first major difference when you go to connect your wallet. So I'm going to click Connect Wallet, and you'll see the new Connect to LeoDex screen. And by the way, Task, if you ever if anything comes up or you want to mention anything, feel free to just jump in and pause me. But I'll just do kind of a walkthrough while we go.
Well, it's funny. I was writing something down, but now that you mentioned that, you just mentioned that as Durango or Maya, Thorchain, or any of them add more to it, you said that gives Leo access to all that liquidity. For those who may not quite understand exactly what that means and the benefit it brings to the Leo ecosystem, could you further clarify that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So LeoDex, and I know that this is something that people get a little confused on because they're used to DEXs having liquidity pools. LeoDex is an interface, so there are no liquidity pools on LeoDex. We are an interface to various cross-chain protocols. Prior to today, we were an interface to the Maya protocol. So that means that any liquidity pools or swap routes on Maya were accessible via LeoDex. And now today we are, we still have Maya, but now we've added Thorchain, Chainflip, and Rango. So Thorchain, Chainflip, and Maya all have liquidity pools and their own setups for liquidity, essentially. So when users go to swap assets, if you're swapping on Maya protocol or Thorchain or Chainflip, you are using LeoDex to tap into those networks. So again, LeoDex is an interface, and if you're a Hive user watching this, you'll recognize that it's very similar to how there's Hive interfaces to the blockchain itself, and those interfaces aren't actually their own blockchains; they're interfaces to that same base layer. So LeoDex should be looked at as an interface to Thorchain, Maya, Chainflip, and Rango. So when you're talking about liquidity pools and liquidity in general, you're actually talking about the liquidity of those protocols specifically, not anything to do with liquidity on LeoDex. There is no LeoDex liquidity pools. There's nothing actually, really on the back end of LeoDex in terms of, swapping or anything like that. It's all, that we are an interface to these different protocols. So yeah, that's a great question and a good distinction to make. And what you'll see when I start to walk through some of these swaps is that you'll see that there's different routes available that have different pricing, and we can talk about liquidity and pricing and fees and how all that stuff works as well. When we get to the kind of swapping part of things. So to start, I clicked Connect Wallet, and obviously now you see there's a new wallet screen. The old LeoDex had obviously I think only 4 wallets integrated. So we were missing some of the major wallets and some of the, obviously the major networks as well. So with this update, we integrated some of the major wallets. You'll notice there are a few wallets that we just temporarily disabled. So you'll see them grayed out, for example, Kepler, Soulflare, Phantom, Ledger, Passkeys, and Keychain. We temporarily have those disabled. So we'll slowly, one by one, enable each of those wallets, as things get tested and progress forward. So right now at launch, we have MetaMask, which we didn't have before, Control Wallet, Coinbase Wallet, which we didn't have before, Trust Wallet, which we didn't have before, Talisman, which we didn't have before, and then Keystore. And then obviously these other wallets will get added, the ones that are grayed out. Like I said, kind of over the coming days, we'll just one by one release support for each wallet. And I already saw someone on X ask why we don't have Trezor. Trezor is something we can add as well. So we built actually a whole wallet framework here, where similar to the swapping protocols themselves, we can now add wallets to our framework much more easily. So as we want to add more wallets, we'll look to add more. One thing I've noticed on other UIs that I wanted to do differently with LeoDex is that a lot of other UIs, they have so many wallet options, which is great, but it can be a lot for a new user to look at. So the way we design the Connect wallet screen, I think is a lot more user friendly, where you'll see the way that they're listed, you have detected wallets at the top. So like on this particular browser that I'm on right now, that I'm sharing screen with, I have MetaMask on this browser and none of these other wallets on this browser. So it shows very clearly MetaMask first, and then the rest of the wallets afterwards. And if I don't have it, then it says to install them. So it definitely makes it easier, I think, on the user to just be like, they connect wallet and then they see instantly the wallet that they like to use, because all these, every user has different wallet preferences. So yeah, I think that makes it super easy. And actually, I just noticed I'm going to stop sharing for a second, and I'm going to switch over to a different browser where I've got other wallet options, because I think that will also outline what I'm talking about. So let me get a new share screen.
While you're doing that, there's a few questions that rolled in. So while you're messing around with that, let's knock these out.
Cool.
Ahmed, are Hive transactions faster on new version? Well, when there are Hive HBD transactions, it used to take a lot of time to go through to the wanted coin. I don't think this has anything to do with that, does it?
No, this doesn't have anything to do with that. And part of the reason it takes time is because of the way that when you're going, Hive isn't supported by any of these cross-chain protocols. So we are actually routing you through multiple liquidity pools and multiple chains. That also being said, with this update, there are no Hive swaps at launch on this update. So we've rolled that back, and we'll roll it back out later. So like I said, we essentially rebuilt the entire LeoDex application. So for now, there's no Hive cross-chain support, and that will get added later down the road. So right now we're focused on supporting Thorchain, Chainflip, Maya, and Rango, where there's a very large percentage of, like, essentially what I looked at with the launch is what are the top wallets that are used by people in cross-chain. What are the top routes? So like where is the most volume being swapped through, which is like Bitcoin, ETH, USDT, USDC. So those are the biggest routes. And I wanted to make sure that we supported those specific things first, and that we focused on making those things, flawless and work really well, because the majority of volume is going to come from, the biggest wallets and the biggest routes. So we want to make sure that, this product is very heavily focused at the world of cross-chain, and we want to make sure that we're supporting, what those people want in the best way possible. And frankly, the Hive swapping and the Hive routes were just getting very low volume. So, it's something we're going to add later, because we just want to bring Hive to that world of cross-chain. But, at the end of the day, we are going to focus on the most profitable routes. And this is something we can kind of get into later on. But, the Leo tokenomics are very heavily focused on, getting these whales and other users to swap through LeoDex when they want to do their cross-chain swaps. So doing that is going to benefit Leo, to the most. So we want to make sure that those have our focus.
Well, and that kind of leads into Ahmed's second question. Will there be a referral program anytime soon? That will bring a lot of whale traders who have their own communities to promote to free advertising.
Yeah. So we are working on on the roadmap, and we can talk about roadmap items, later on towards the end. But we do have a roadmap for various things. So, one of those things is a referral program where you'll be able to get a link, kind of similar to Inleo. You'll be able to get a link and share that out, and there's going to be a referral dashboard. And on that dashboard, you'll set a receiving address. So, for example, you'll set like an Arbitrum address, and you'll say, I want to receive USDC for my referrals. What's going to happen is, LeoDex earns a 0.45% affiliate fee on all swaps. So if you use your referral link and someone clicks your referral link and then uses LeoDex to do a swap, you'll get a percentage of that 0.45%. So, just to make the math simple, and I'm not committing to any specific numbers, but assume that it's like a 50-50 split. So if you use your referral link to share it to another user, again, just to make the math easy, and that user swaps, say, $100,000 on LeoDex, that $100,000 will have a $450 affiliate fee, which is 0.45%. And that 450 will get split 50-50 between you, the referrer, and LeoDex. So that's, $225 to you, $225 to LeoDex. And 100% of the affiliate revenue on LeoDex buys the Leo token. So it'll just autonomously buy from the affiliate address. So, and if you in your dashboard set USDC as your preferred receiving currency, that means that you'll receive that 225 as USDC automatically in your wallet. Again, that's not going live with this update, but that's something that's on the roadmap. So it's something that centralized exchanges have done with a great degree of success. So I think it's worth exploring in terms of LeoDex as an interface to these various protocols.
One other question by Ahmed, he followed it up, saying that there's now no Hive blockchain. Does that mean Leo on Hive Engine isn't supported? Is the bridge from Hive Engine over to Arbitrum still intact, or is that not? Is that disconnected too?
The bridge from Leo Hive to Leo Arbitrum is still live. So you would just go to wleo.io and bridge to Arbitrum with your Hive Engine Leo. So it is you'll be able to still bridge, but you won't be able to directly do Leo on Hive to anything on LeoDex. And I saw the last part of his question was, can you add a button for bridging? And yes, I think we will add a button at some point for bridging between the two, especially when I get into some of these tokenomics things later on. In this live stream, we can talk about, some of the things that are happening behind the scenes with Arbitrum Leo and, our plans with Hive Engine and the future of the Leo token economy in general. So yeah, good question.
Might be a good time to show some more of the features.
Yeah, I'm just getting our.
Oh, you're setting up.
Okay. Yeah, just getting our stream back up. Let's see here. Let's see if it'll take it now. Share screen. All right, I think we're back. All right, so yeah, we're so now we're signed in with Keystore, as you can see here. So, this part's relatively the same. You hit wallet, and it will show you, all your different balances across the different chains. And then you can also, this is a new feature on LeoDex V3, is you can add wallet. So you can actually connect now. You can connect with up to 2 wallets at the same time. So for example, I'm connected with Keystore now, and for example, I could, I've got MetaMask on this browser, so I could connect MetaMask at the same time as Keystore, and be able to do stuff, between the 2 wallets. Which, let me see if I can just get. Let me see if I can get this MetaMask added real quick, just to make it really obvious. Account 1. All right. Connect wallet. You'll see there's a new animation too when you're connecting. You just hit confirm in MetaMask. All right. And so now you can see, so again, just showcasing the multi-wallet connect, which is actually something that a lot of other cross-chain UIs don't have. Some of them have it, some of them don't. Some of them have it, but it doesn't work. It's definitely a hard thing to develop. So, it took us a while to get this kind of working well, and, making sure that it was kind of a seamless user experience, which, is going to be our focus with LeoDex, is making, making cross-chain really accessible to the average user, very similar to how we made InLeo, for Hive, making Hive accessible to your average user and more understandable, is what we're doing with LeoDex. So this multi-wallet support is honestly really good. It works super well. So another new feature, just while I'm here, if you hover over the balance of an asset, this is a new thing in V3. It'll flip. You kind of see my cursor right now in the share. It flips it to the USD value of that. So for example, you can see the USD value of the Leo when I hover over. So again, just a small, usability feature. A lot of these small features are really how, things become a lot more fun to use, and more user-friendly in general. So, this stuff will get cool. So you can see here, in this wallet tab, I can now flip between these 2 wallets. I can collapse networks. So again, just making it very easy to do things. Here's where the magic kind of happens, is when you click options, you can see I can select between the 2 wallets. So when I go to do a swap and I select from the token selector, you can see my balances here. This is on the Keystore wallet, because you saw in the swap options that it's currently defaulting to my Keystore. So if I go back to options and I select MetaMask and hit save, you'll see a nice little animation here to show that I switched to MetaMask. And then if I click options, you'll see MetaMask is set. And then now when I go to select assets, you see that the balances are sorted. And by the way, this is all sorting based on what balances I have. So you'll actually see that the balances all changed. The reason why they changed is because now it's using my MetaMask as default, not my Keystore. So just keep that in mind, that this option exists if you have multiple wallets and want to be able to, kind of seamlessly switch between them. So let me go back to my Keystore really quick, and I'll show you, something that's also very useful. So let's say I want to do a Cacao to Arbitrum ETH swap. So I can search assets, and by the way, I'll actually show this later. But let's say I want to do Arbitrum ETH. So I can actually type ETH, which will show me obviously a lot of different options. It shows me a lot of different versions of Ethereum on different blockchains, but it also shows me, Ethereum assets too. So that's kind of bloated for me to look, because there's now a lot of assets that are supported on LeoDex, whereas before it was maybe like 15 assets. Now there's, probably over 100. So I can actually search per blockchain by typing arb for arbitrum.eth. And now you see I can find Arbitrum ETH very easily. So I'll click Arbitrum ETH, and then I'll do 100 Cacao. So you'll see here that this is a new display for routes. It'll show you every available route in terms of all the different cross-chain protocols. So for Cacao to Arbitrum ETH, there's only one route available, and that's on Maya protocol. So obviously it's the best price and it's the fastest option, because it's the only option for Cacao to Arbitrum ETH. So let's say I want to continue with this route. Here's where I think things are kind of nice. Let's say that I need Arbitrum ETH in my MetaMask. but right now I'm on my key store. So let's just say I have no assets on my MetaMask at all, and I want to get something on there so I can start using it. I can put Cacao here, Arbitrum ETH here, and then in the bottom right, you'll see recipient. I can click recipient, and now I can choose from my connected wallets, which is Keystore and MetaMask, or I can actually manually change the address here if I want to set it to, something else. So right now I'm going to choose my MetaMask because we just said, I want to get some Arbitrum ETH there. So let's choose MetaMask. So now you'll see my MetaMask address is different than my Keystore, obviously. And then I hit save recipient. And this is just showing me the details of the swap. And I'm going to hit swap tokens. This will now show me the, kind of the results of the swap. So you'll see my balance change. You'll also see the recipient. We added a lot of displays here to remind you which wallet it's sending the funds to. So a big reason here is that we want people to make sure that they know where obviously everything's going. So you can see that it's saying second wallet because it's the secondary wallet that I have connected right now. You'll see the memo there. You'll see the estimated fees, the estimated slippage, and then balance change. And then it says, again, just a reminder, attention that the recipient address is your second wallet's address. If this is unintentional, check your address before confirming the swap. And then we have an acknowledge button here before you can confirm the swap. Obviously, again, safety is paramount here. So I'm going to hit confirm swap. And you'll see here, this is a new window as well. It said a few things, but it happened so fast you couldn't even see them, like calculating fees and et cetera. So it was doing those things. And then you can see that it now shows the transaction tracker. Transaction tracker looks very similar or pretty much the same to how it looked on LeoDex, the prior version of LeoDex. A big change here is that the status indicator actually works. So funnily enough, on the old LeoDex, the status indicator almost never worked. So it would say indexing, forever. But you can see here that it said indexing for a few seconds, and now it already says success. And then if I click View in Explorer, it's going to take me over to Xscanner, which I'm realizing my share screen isn't showing. So let me switch that so you can actually see the Xscanner link. Share screen, transaction details. So all I did here was click on, if you remember from LeoDex, it said View and Explorer on the transaction tracker, and then it takes you over to Xscanner, which is what you're seeing now. So you'll see my 100 Cacao on Maya protocol here. So it got sent, and then you'll see my protocol swap 100 Cacao to 0.0104 ETH. You'll see the slippage. You'll see the affiliate fee that got paid to Leo, which is about 7 cents. And just in general, you see the total fees came out to like 9 cents. So it shows you the memo and then the final cost. And then below that, it shows Arbitrum, and it shows that the Maya Vault sent 0.0104 ETH on Arbitrum to this wallet, which, if you remember, 0xBC335F is my MetaMask wallet. So it just sent 100 Cacao. So this is kind of the magic of, abstracting things to the back end, or at least to make the UI more seamless, is that I'm connected with Keystore and MetaMask, and I just swapped directly from my Keystore directly to my MetaMask in just a few clicks. So makes it a lot easier, and you'll see that it got sent to my wallet. So this was $16 worth of Arbitrum ETH. So if I go back to LeoDex and let me flip the share back to LeoDex. So now I'm back to LeoDex from Xscanner. And again, to go there, you just click this View and Explorer link. If I go back to LeoDex, I can close this transaction tracker. I go to my wallets and I can flip back to my MetaMask. You'll see my Arbitrum balance hasn't updated here. So I can scroll down and there's a refresh button. So I'm going to click refresh and then now go back up, and you can see that my Arbitrum balance increased by $16. And that's because obviously I got the Arbitrum ETH that we just sent. So now I can use that in other swaps. So it's, again, super easy. Let's say I want to go back to Cacao now. I can just do this. Let's see here, 0.001 0.01. So you can see here, I can go back. I can send some Arbitrum ETH back to Cacao. And again, this is on Maya protocol. So let me flip back to my key store so that we can do a bigger swap. Before I do any other swaps, Tass, do you have any comments, or did you see any good questions about the multi-wallet support and the swap I just did where I swapped from one wallet to another?
Yeah, there's a couple questions. One does apply to the multi-wallet. Can we apply a nickname to our wallet so when doing transactions we know which wallet is being used? How does it distinguish? Is there a way that you can know which wallet you're messing with?
So to answer the second part first, the way you would know is in this options tab. You obviously can see your two wallets. So if I say key store here, I'm switching to key store now. And then let's say I continue with this route, and then you'll see my recipient. Actually, I need to change this because you can't receive Cacao on MetaMask. So I hit continue for this swap to Arbitrum ETH. So when you click change recipient, you can see key store and MetaMask here under my wallets. So that's what's telling you which wallet is which. So to answer that, that's how you would know which wallet is which. And then obviously you can also manually change this. So I can write any address here. Obviously it's going to tell you it needs to be the right format. But when you click each of these two wallets, you'll be able to obviously it's pretty self-explanatory there. There's no way to set a nickname right now. I think a nickname feature would be cool in the future, where potentially you would be able to swap to wallets that you don't currently have connected. So maybe you can add a lot of centralized exchanges have the ability where you can whitelist certain addresses and give them a nickname. So if you frequently send to a specific address, you can nickname it Coinbase or MEXC or Binance or whatever you want to name it, or like Ledger, Ethereum, whatever you want to name these wallets. You'll be able to whitelist a certain address and give it a nickname. So yeah, I think that's a good future feature, but not something that's there now. But again, you can only connect two wallets at a time maximum, and this screen makes it really obvious which wallet you're swapping to. And then again, when you actually do the swap and you hit confirm, it's telling you again which wallet you're swapping to make sure that where the funds are going. I think the critical piece here, and this is something we were missing on the previous LeoDex, is that we didn't have a good way to show users where the swap was ending up. So I wanted to make sure that we had that for V3, especially with all these new assets and multi-wallet support.
LJazz also asks, what does the stage tag mean next to some coins or tokens?
Stage. I don't know what he's talking about. Staged tag. Is there a stage tag anywhere here? I don't see any. I think what he's referring to is that some assets on Maya are staged, which means that they don't have enough liquidity yet to be a live swappable asset. So he must be looking at the old version of LeoDex, because on the new LeoDex, we actually removed staged assets. So you'll notice there is no staged assets, or there are no staged assets on LeoDex. But on the old LeoDex, you're probably looking at that. So just keep in mind that doesn't exist on the new one.
Okay, and Ahmed, where the hell is his question? Any affiliation between you guys and Xscanner?
No, there's no affiliation between us and Xscanner. They just make a really good product, to be honest. If you remember what that screen looked like, it's just really clean, and it tells you. It also updates in real time, so we can track another transaction. But if you sit on the page, you can actually watch your swap go through each different lifespan of what it's doing. So it's actually just a really good UI. It's just like a block scanner. So look at it like Hive blocks, for example, if you're from Hive. Just a really easy thing to see.
And Eljat said the LeoDex UI hasn't changed at all for him. Is it? It's the same URL. Maybe click refresh or
Yeah,
something. Or is
yeah,
it
I
not
mentioned
live?
when we started, I wanted to show you guys LeoDex V3 first, and then when we jump off of this, we'll push it live today. So
Okay.
yeah, this is like a first look, and then you'll be able to see, you'll be able to like see and use LeoDex V3 for yourselves later on. So if you're looking at LeoDex right now, you're
Gotcha.
looking at the old LeoDex. So next thing I'll show is here you can see multiple routes. So I'll showcase this because the last swap we did obviously only had Maya routes. So if you do an asset where it's listed on multiple protocols, you'll see them all all the available routes actually listed to the right side. So our UI will tell you which swap is the best price. So which swap has the lowest fees and the least amount of slippage, and then which swap is the fastest. So and then it'll just kind of rank order them from there. So here you'll see I put in 15 ETH to 0.283 Bitcoin, which is about a $23,000 swap. You'll see the first route, which with the best price, is Maya, and you'll see the exchange rate here. You'll also see the plus or minus sign. So on Maya right now, you're actually getting a positive swap. And again, this just has a lot to do with balancing and pricing. So it's just pricing the assets. Every protocol is going to price the assets differently, and it also changes in real time, because if someone else does this swap right now, then obviously the price on Maya isn't as good. So it's going to be changing all the time. You'll notice that if you sit on this page long enough, every 30 seconds, this routes tab will refresh itself. So every 30 seconds, it's fetching you see, it's doing it right now. It's fetching you the most recent pricing for each swap, just to ensure that you're getting obviously accurate data. So you got Maya here with the best price. So it shows you all the information I just said. It shows you the exchange rate. And then you can see here, it says $123.74. Those are the fees associated with the swap. So that's total fees, including the affiliate fee, any slippage fees, any protocol fees. It has all the fees listed there. So it's showing you what you're paying for this swap. And then it shows you how long it's going to take next to that, which is 58 minutes for the Maya swap. So if you compare this to the Thorchain swap, which is right below it, Thorchain is saying that it's going to cost you $149.90. So that's why the Maya swap is above it, is because it's giving you a better price. So you're saving like 25 bucks. And then to the right of that, you'll see the time on Thorchain is 6 minutes. So on Thorchain, you can do this swap a lot faster. However, you're going to pay $25, for that, convenience. I would look at that as like a convenience fee between the two. And like I said, these prices and timing is always in flux. So that can always change. So you'll see that Thorchain is the fastest. Maya has the best price, but Chainflip actually kind of has a middle of the road swap. So it's worthwhile to like look through each of these really quickly, especially if you're doing a larger swap. So for example, here, we just went through Thorchain and Maya. The Chainflip swap is going to cost you $130 in fees, and it's going to take 13 minutes. So I think a lot of people would actually choose the Chainflip swap in this scenario because it's kind of a middle of the road. Like it's taking 13 minutes instead of 58 minutes, and it's only costing you $6 about $6 more, for the swap as compared to Maya. So yeah, it's just and you can see it just updated again. So you'll see 1:30 here now in 13 minutes, and then below that you'll see the Rango quote. So the Rango quote is coming in, very similarly to the other ones. You'll notice that Rango is grayed out temporarily. So we're working on something with their team right now that's causing an issue for swaps. So as of right now, you can do Thorchain, Chainflip, and Maya swaps, and then Rango should be activated later today. Just because we wanted to make sure this rate limit issue was resolved before it goes live. So, but you'll still see the quote there. It just won't let you use it because we don't want it to get rate limited. So if you saw these options, I mean, it's kind of up to the user what you'll want. Like a lot of whales, they want speed. So, you know, if they're swapping something and they need it quickly, they don't want to wait an hour to save 25 bucks. So they'll choose the faster option, even though it's more expensive. Or if you know, if you're not in a hurry to do this swap, you know, you can just choose the option that's 58 minutes and then you're good to go. So any questions regarding routes and quoting of routes?
Yeah, there was one kind of more Block Explorer related, but uh, Machishima asked, where can we check LeoDex earnings for chain flip and Rango? I'm looking for the X scanner equivalent. Is there an X scanner equivalent?
So yeah, what he's referring to is and I'll actually just show you because I think that would make it easier. So let me go to Restream here. Just a second. Let's see. Let me just switch screens. Sorry, one second here. So what he's referring to is Xscanner. And this is what Xscanner is. Like I said, that was also the link that we used to track a swap. Xscanner also has an interface leaderboard. So if you go to Xscanner and then click interfaces, you'll see this page with all the different interfaces. And Xscanner doesn't support chain flip or Rango. So it's Thorchain and Maya. You can see the today earnings, yesterday and 7-day here. And then you can see some kind of, total figures. Like, for example, today, the day is 73% complete. It resets at midnight UTC. The total swap volume on all interfaces is $10 million in the last, basically 20 hours. Across all the interfaces, $41,000 in affiliate revenue was earned. And there were 1.2 thousand total swaps, 700 unique addresses. And then it shows you, some other stats about that. Also the highest swaps per interface. So what he's referring to is that you can see the Thorchain and Maya interfaces here, which obviously includes LeoDex. And I just clicked on LeoDex where you can see, our current volume and earnings and swaps and users. So again, it's not going to show you the chain flip and Rango affiliates. So you can track Thorchain and Maya here. And then I'll show you how to track chain flip right after this. But you'll see here that it breaks down Thorchain and Maya right there. And then you can do yesterday and the 7-day volume from all of this. So Thorchain is obviously brand new. We never had any Thorchain swaps until LeoDex V3. And all these swaps are basically just, our team testing stuff. So that's the internal testing group. But as, this gets rolled out, hopefully you can bookmark this page and just see a lot more, swaps happening. So if you want to track the chain flip swaps, let me share my other screen. I share this screen. You'll see here, this is on, here, chain flip. Here we go. So you'll see this is, and I'll just drop the link in the threadcast to this one. So this is the brokers page on the chain flip scanner. So you'll see a lot of stats similar to Xscanner, but this is specific to chain flip. So you'll see the volume, swaps, fees, the total volume, since the beginning of time on chain flip is $2 billion. And then you can see the volume over the last 14 days, and it breaks it down by different wallets. So you'll see, if you scroll down, you'll see brokers and affiliates. And under here, you'll see like ThorSwap UI, Trust Wallet, Thor Swap, Swap Kit, Shapeshift, Houdini Swap, Cake Wallet, Rango, El Dorado, and some other ones. So these are all the different affiliates on ChainFlip, and then you can see, how many fees they've earned. So let's just take Thor Swap here at the top. So since the beginning of time, Thor Swap has done 41,000 swaps on ChainFlip, which amounts to $226 million in swap volume, and they've earned 600,000 US dollars for that swap. Solid. You can click on them and it'll show you more details about Thor Swaps, how many fees they've earned since the beginning of time and the volume, like I just mentioned, and their commission rate is 0.5%. So we are also cheaper than Thor Swap, slightly cheaper than them in terms of affiliate fees. And then you can see the balance of their wallet and some of these other things. So if you take the ChainFlip broker address that we have, which is shared in the LeoDex UI, so you'll be able to track this when LeoDex goes live. You'll be able to see the broker address for LeoDex, and you can bookmark the page that looks like this, and then you'll be able to see the collected fees by that address. And then when the automated buybacks happen of Leo from the fees earned here, you'll actually just be able to see all that and track it on this page. In addition to these are kind of like the raw ways of going out and looking at the affiliate earnings of LeoDex on the different block explorers. If you want to just see something that's easier, like more of a dashboard, we have on the roadmap a dashboard on LeoDex itself, where you'll be able to track the total earnings of the LeoDex affiliate addresses, because obviously there's multiple of them between Thorchain, Maya, ChainFlip, and Rango. And then you'll also be able to track the buybacks and the automated buybacks. So since we're kind of already on the topic, the way the automated buybacks work is that it's going to keep and Ahmad Manga said, I don't see Leo. They haven't added it yet. So I know that they did a pull request this morning to add LeoDex to the brokers list. So later today, LeoDex will be on the brokers list on ChainFlip Scanner. We also need to have more swaps, but you can actually see, I'll share a screenshot in the Threadcast, but you can see when we were doing testing, there's no label yet on our broker address. Actually, let me share a better screenshot. So if you check the Threadcast, this screenshot will show you some Shapeshift swaps on ChainFlip. So you can see that it says Shapeshift swapped, XYZ. And then for our swaps, you'll see it's just an address. So it's CFLV U3PC. That's LeoDex. But they haven't done the poll. Well, they did the poll request this morning, but as of yesterday, they haven't done the pull request yet to add LeoDex, the LeoDex tag. So essentially the broker address exists, but it's not tagged as Leo yet. So when it is tagged as Leo, you'll see it under the brokers list on ChainFlip. So that was a good question. But getting back to what I was saying, the way the affiliate earnings are going to work, and I talked about this on the AMA on Tuesday, but the way we're doing the affiliate earnings is that the affiliate addresses will pool up some reserves, and then it'll buy back Leo automated from those reserves. So what's going to be nice is that those addresses are always going to have funds in them, and then they'll use a percentage of those funds to buy back Leo on the market automatically. I think this is actually going to be a really great thing for the Leo token, because it actually gives people the opportunity to front run the affiliate. So all the affiliate addresses are going to be buying Leo on a randomized schedule. So you won't know exactly when they're going to buy or how much they're going to buy. But you know that if there's, $20,000 sitting in an affiliate address, that $20,000 is eventually going to buy Leo. So I think it creates some kind of interesting game theory. So the more volume that LeoDex gets, the more that those pools will build up in terms of reserves to buy Leo. So it's going to be interesting to watch, how people look at that. So yeah, it's again, I just gave you all the manual ways that you can go check, but there are, we are working on a page where you'll be able to track it as well. But in the meantime, you can definitely just track via
All right, one more thing about the routes. There's some other questions that kind of stray into areas either we haven't gotten to or off topic. But LJATS asks regarding routes, could there be an agreement with some of the newly integrated protocols for token back mechanism to be implemented when we choose them in our route? For instance, a couple of rune when selecting a route that uses Thorchain. I don't understand what he's asking, but maybe
I
you do.
maybe asking if we can get paid some rune if a user uses that route. That's actually how the affiliate earnings work. So when someone swaps, there's a 0.45% affiliate fee on each swap. No matter which protocol you choose, we have a standard affiliate fee across all of them, and that gets paid to us. So when it's a Thorchain swap, we get rune. When it's a chain flip swap, we actually get USDC. So chain flips is paid in USDC. And when it's a Maya swap, we get cacao. And then for Rango swaps, you can actually choose. We've chosen USDC for those as well.
And a lot of people have brought up the topic of video tutorials for LeoDex, and a lot of people said it's a great idea. And you are all free to make up video tutorials of LeoDex as you're using it, and post them on Hive and send a copy to the Leo team. And if it's good, they'll post it somewhere. But again, to expect the Leo team to do everything, especially when you're using the decks yourself, come on, this is a community.
Yeah, and I would love to see more community tutorials for a lot of this stuff. It's like I said, when we jump off of this, it's going to be live for all of you guys to go out and use. So I would love to have more more people testing these things and giving us feedback, and also more community made tutorials. So on the previous LeoDex versions, Nifty was very adamantly making new making new tutorials about how to do various things, and then we were putting them in the docs. So yeah, we'll if you guys make tutorials, we'll heavily upvote them on InLeo, and we'll feature you in the docs, and we'll put the links in all sorts of places. So yeah, anyone who makes LeoDex tutorials will be very generously rewarded in terms of upvotes. We'll make sure of that. I'll make sure that with the team that we're sending out a lot of upvotes to you guys who who make those tutorials. We definitely need a lot of different tutorials, and there's a lot in this update. So expecting any single person to do a lot of tutorials is not very feasible. I think it's going to take a collective power to do a lot of tutorials about this stuff. And there's again, there's all sorts of wallets. There's a lot of new wallets, and there's a lot of new protocols. So when you combine them with all the different variables, that's a lot of new routes and assets and wallets and use cases and protocols to cover, because you have all the different things kind of multiplying on each other.
Yeah, and the problem is if you are making the tutorials, Cal, there are some things, just because of, I don't know, your experience with Dexis, maybe your knowledge of certain coins or certain chains, that you just take for granted, and you just go bing, bing, bing through. And it's like somebody who has no idea about that chain would want further explanation, and many people would want that, but you're just oblivious to that because to you it's second nature. So when other people are looking at these things, and if there's an area that you say you figured out how to do something that was a little bit of a challenge, well, make a video of that, because if you're having a challenge, other people might be having a challenge.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
Yeah, John goes is also very good at making tutorials, and John goes very challenged. So see, it works perfect.
Yeah, I mean, everybody, and again, that's another variable of tutorials, which is that everybody's skill level is different. So having people at varying skill levels with varying assets, with varying wallets, with varying protocols, that creates just so many different variables and crossovers that it's really going to take a whole community of people making tutorials, to cover every single nuance that's out there. So if you guys make good tutorials, just tag me in them, and I'll make sure that they get heavily upvoted both by my accounts and Leo.voter. But yeah, I'd love to see it, like just a bunch of tutorials come out about all this stuff, because the more tutorials, the better, and when you make a tutorial, don't just make it and wait. I would make it and share it, share it on X, share it on other platforms, on Reddit and other places, so that, the external world can see it. This app is very externally facing to the entire world of crypto. So we want to get crypto people on this app, and utilizing it.
Yeah, actually, somebody asked earlier about premium, and is this update for people who are for non-premium users? And I responded and I said, you don't even have to be a Hive user or a Leo user. I mean, this is a DEX for anybody, and this looks to capture potentially anybody in the crypto
Exactly.
industry.
Yep. Yeah, and I think the majority of users are going to be, from the outside world. I think this is a new app that is, and while it has been live for, about a year actually, since we built the first version of LeoDex, this is nothing like what LeoDex was before. I hope it's kind of obvious when you're looking at it. We've put a lot of resources into making this for the last couple of months. You guys have been hearing me talk about it, and shifting our focus to being really heavy on building LeoDex and building it for the broader cross-chain world. You'll just notice that the UI is working really well. We've done a lot of testing, and we've added a lot of features and integrated all the different protocols, which hasn't been an easy thing to do. So yeah, it's definitely a lot of fun to see this come together. And what I'm looking forward to now is seeing the volume grow, which is going to have a very dramatic impact on the Leo token. So while we, if you find any more good questions, let me do a ETH to Bitcoin swap. So this is Ethereum on the Ethereum blockchain, and Bitcoin on the Bitcoin blockchain. You can see here I have a couple different options. I've got Thorchain, Maya, Chainflip, and then Rengo's obviously grayed out right now because for the reason I mentioned. So Thorchain is saying it's going to cost me $1 and this is just a $50 swap. So Thorchain's saying it's going to cost me $1.40. It's also going to happen in 24 seconds. So you'll see it actually says it's the best price and it's the fastest option. So you'll see the -3%. It's going to cost me 3% on the swap. And a big, so let's hit continue because I'll show you. You'll see that the affiliate fee is only 21 cents. The real fees that are happening here is because it's Bitcoin and Ethereum. They're expensive blockchains to transact on. So while it's negative, you're losing 3%, on this swap. The majority of that is because of the blockchains that you're choosing. And a lot of those are static fees. So if I change this to 10 Ethereum, you'll see that it's now actually positive to do the swap, just in terms of USD value. And again, the reason why it was 3% is because you have a lot of static costs with these blockchains because they're just expensive fee wise. So I just wanted to point that out.
Can you do that same ETH but use ETH ARB or ETH one of the other cheaper chains just to give it a comparison?
Yeah, good idea. So you'll see $1.40 is your cost here for ETH.ETH. Let me do ETH.ARB.ETH. 0.03, so same amount. You'll actually see it's 7.3%. So why is it more? Is because of the liquidity available on these other protocols. So and again, you still have the Bitcoin fees. So I think the Bitcoin fees actually were probably a lot more. So let's choose Bitcoin on the base blockchain. No routes for that. So again, you'll notice ETH.ARB is actually supported on Chainflip and Maya, but it's not supported on Thorchain. So Thorchain is the chain that has base. So that's why you can't do that. But let's look at Wrap Bitcoin on Arbitrum. So now we are not using the Ethereum blockchain. We're not using the Bitcoin blockchain. It's going from Arbitrum to Arbitrum. So the fees are a lot cheaper. So you'll see it's now 0.8% instead of 3%. So that was a good point to ask. If you change the blockchain, then those static fees get reduced dramatically. So let's go back to ETH.ETH. I'm going to do ETH.ETH. Oh, and you'll see here ETH.ETH to wrapped Bitcoin on Arbitrum actually gives you a positive fee. So good thing to note there. And then let's do BTC.BTC. So that's going to be Ethereum to Bitcoin, the OGs. And we're going to do this one on Thorchain. So you'll see here my recipient. You don't have to click recipient every time, by the way. It just defaults to the wallet that you're on, as long as there's the ability to receive on that wallet. So for example, Keystore has Bitcoin, but MetaMask does not. So there's no Bitcoin on MetaMask. You guys probably already know that. So you'll see if you change recipient, it doesn't allow you to choose MetaMask because there's no Bitcoin address on MetaMask. So I'll hit swap tokens, and you'll see that the recipient is myself on this Keystore. You'll see the fees are $1.40, and then I'll hit confirm swap, preparing transaction, and you'll see it just load through this, calculating gas fees. Yeah, Mod Manga said, I always check the swap quotes at $100 and $1,000 to see if the static fees are the reason for the price difference. Yeah, it's a good strategy. It's typically the static fees on those particular blockchains that are going to eat you away when you're, especially when you're doing small, smaller transactions. And you'll see this is an Ethereum and Bitcoin swap. You'll notice that it's going to be slower than other swaps. So you'll see right now it's taking its time doing the send transaction, but it just completed. So you'll see it's saying indexing now. So while that first window is going, that window is showing while it's sending the initial part of the swap. So until that window is closed, and it closes automatically, it hasn't sent the first leg of the swap yet. So just keep that in mind. But then once it's sent, you'll see that it's indexing and it's actually performing your swap. So I see that the X scanner link, and I wanted to show you guys the life of a swap while it's in the queue. So let me quickly change my screen before it does it too fast. So here's the X scanner. I'm now sharing the X scanner link. So all I did was click see transaction. And now I'm looking at X scanner. You can see that in real time. See this? I don't know if here's my cursor, if you can see it. You'll see that it's lighting up and it says outbound queue number 1. So that means it's the first in line and it's just pending the swap. So it's happening on Thorchain, and you'll actually see this get completed in real time. So see it just checked off. So now the swap is complete. And I think it's sending the Bitcoin. Let's go back to LeoDex and see if I got my Bitcoin. So you see here my balance was, let's see, on Keystore Bitcoin, my balance is, and there is, by the way, a bug with the Bitcoin USD balance. I already know about that, but you'll see my balance is 0.000468. So let me refresh and see if I got that Bitcoin. I haven't gotten it yet. So it can take some time. So just keep that in mind, especially when you're doing like Bitcoin ETH swaps. Refresh the balances again. Hasn't updated yet. So you'll see that the swap went through, but the Bitcoin isn't there yet. So that's, again, just a function of the Bitcoin blockchain and Ethereum blockchain, obviously. But again, people who are swapping these routes tend to know that it's going to take a little bit more time. It's going to take a few minutes for those.
Makisha asked, what happens to earnings from Chainflip and Rango? Are they deployed on the same platforms, and do the earnings go to LPs on Maya? Yeah, they're all part of the same tokenomics.
Yeah, so everything is the same in terms of the buybacks and the automated buybacks and how they all work. So again, I kind of talked about this on the AMA, but I think over time it's important not to have too rigid of economics. So I think what we should do, obviously, is have the DAO, the Leo stakeholders vote on what to do with the pooled up revenue in various intervals. I'm thinking maybe like once a month or once a quarter or something. It can be reevaluated. Like, is the best use case to buy Leo and deploy it in the liquidity pool at this time? Is the best use case to buy Leo and burn it? And we can just kind of have like a multiple choice voting system, which we already have with obviously in Leo's polls. And it can be stake weighted voting where Leo stakeholders can say, we want to burn all the revenue that's earned by, these affiliate addresses So buy back Leo and just burn it, or we want to buy it and pool it, and then Leo stakeholders just vote on what to do with that. So again, 100% of the affiliate revenue is buying Leo, which is a really unique factor in this world of cross chain. I don't think there's any other interface out there that uses 100% of their revenue to buy their token. So a lot of them have tokens, and they'll do 25% of their revenue or 50% of their revenue buys back the token, and then the rest of the revenue goes to the team. So we don't have that. So our team, obviously holds Leo, and that's how we succeed when the Leo token succeeds. So I think that alignment of incentives is really important, and a big reason why we're working so hard to make LeoDex successful is I think this is what carries Leo to the valuations that we all think it should be.
Well, yeah, when you look at even just some of the numbers on Xscanner and what was brought in there, or on Chain Flip, and what did you say, Thor Swap? 600,000 in fees. I mean, just think if there was 600,000 in fees buying the Leo token, that would really send the price skyrocketing. Since I don't even know what the market cap's at right now, but that probably exceeds the entire market cap by a significant margin.
Yeah, absolutely. And just let me just show, because it's really exciting. Like, we've never built a product where there's this big of a total addressable market. Like the social media stuff, obviously there's a lot of potential users out there, but getting people to use blockchain social media is very difficult. And generating revenue when you're not at network effect scale is also very difficult. So we've been fighting a very hard losing battle in terms of the social media stuff when it comes to Leo. So building this is really exciting to me because it offers a market that is instantly, we can instantly tap into this market and start getting some of these affiliate earnings simply by building what we're good at, which is really good UI UX and just making the best UI UX possible, and obviously just leveraging the community that we have, which is why you guys are so important in terms of you guys using it to swap and give feedback and make feature requests and do bug reports. Having you guys is our competitive advantage, I think, in this market. Most of these other interfaces don't have a large hardcore user base. They've got whales that come in and swap very regularly, but they don't have the hardcore user base that we have, where we've got years of experience and with you guys and building stuff. So having you guys is ever more important now that we've got LeoDex and that we're trying to grow the volume. So if you want to help Leo get to where I think it should be, using LeoDex and giving us feedback is the best way to do that, and make tutorials and promote it. Get people to use LeoDex, and I think we'll see what happens from there. On Task's point about the earnings, so 600,000 was earned by Thor Swap in the last, essentially since they integrated Chain Flip. If you look at the 7-day leaderboard of Thorchain and Maya on Xscanner, which I have pulled up right now on the live stream, you can see Trust Wallet is at the top in terms of volume, and they generated $116,000 in affiliate revenue between Thorchain and Maya in the last 7 days. So imagine if every 7 days there was over $100,000 buying the Leo token. The current market cap, I think, is about 800K. So even just say that the market cap's about $1 million. That's 1/10 of all Leo in the circulating supply getting bought off the market every single week. So yeah, I don't know what that math looks like in terms of price, but there's only one way it can go based on supply and demand. And if you look down this list, obviously the top UIs are earning, the vast majority of fees, but what the other UIs are earning is not peanuts. I mean, even Shapeshift, with $3 million in the last week, earned $5.6 thousand in affiliate revenue, and so that's about $20,000 a month, which is vastly more than InLeo as a social media platform has been able to make. Think about Leo ads or premium and what the ability to earn was or is for those, and it doesn't even compare to what you can make here in terms of affiliate earnings.
Well, and that's only one chain,
Yeah,
right?
this
That's
is
not-
only ThorChain and Maya. It doesn't include Chainflip and Rango.
Which is the biggest in terms of volume, would you say?
ThorChain, I would say
or
it's
Rango?
ThorChain, then Chainflip, then Rango's an aggregator. So I would say Rango, but it is an aggregator. It's not a protocol. And then Maya is the smallest in terms of daily volume. And up until now, we've only supported Maya. And I think we've missed a lot of important features for that. But I wanted to do a big update where we added everything all at once. So that's how I tend to like to do things.
Now, on Tuesday's AMA, you mentioned something about future features. And one that caught my attention, I didn't really hone in on it at the time, but now's a good time to bring it up. You talked about on the roadmap potentially adding information about each token to make the UX look a lot more like centralized DEXs or centralized exchanges, where if you click on the Bitcoin, if you click on the Ethereum, you click on your USDC, ARB, or whatever it is, it gives you information about the token. It gives you the price. It gives you the trading volume. It gives you all the particulars. Is this something that you can pull from an aggregator, or you can pull from an Oracle or something and incorporate in a rather simplistic manner?
Which part are you incorporating in from an aggregator?
The specific token information, like on Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDC, Solana, where if you go to a centralized exchange, if you go to Coinbase and you got Solana in your window, you click on it, it'll pull up a page where it gives you all the information about Solana, what the trading volume is, the price, all that stuff. And you mentioned on Tuesday's AMA that you had thought about providing more information because that would make the UI, the LeoDex, look a little bit more like and have some more features of centralized exchanges. Is that something you could easily pull from an Oracle or some type of aggregator that it could be implemented without much difficulty?
Yeah, that's a good point. So we actually already have that. Let me see if I can get it on the share, but we temporarily disabled the token info page. I did share teaser screenshots of it though. So let me see where I'm at here. Let's see, it's not letting me share it, but all right, well, we'll have to we'll have to show that next time, but that will probably launch in the next, I would say within the next week, probably even sooner. But I did share those teaser screenshots. I don't know if anyone wants to go through my threads on Inleo, but you'll see the screenshots there. But basically, just TLDR on it because it will be live this week. But it pulls APIs from CoinGecko for each token. So, for example, you can see a lot of the stuff you mentioned, like market cap, tokenomics, volume, etc. On that page, and then it also has the swap module next to it. It does make it a lot more like a centralized exchange, at least from a looks standpoint. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, here we go. I got it. Let's see. Screen. Here we go. So you'll see this is what the page looks like. So when it goes live, you'll see that the search. So right now on the LeoDex version, you won't see the search bar, but when this update goes live, you'll see the search bar where you can search for any token. And this is the Rune page. So obviously, like I had searched Rune, and then I can see the price. I can see the historical price, and it obviously shows that it's in real time. It gives the short description that you get from Coin Market Cap and CoinGecko. And then you can see like Rune stats, like its market cap ranking, market cap value, circulating supply, and 24-hour low and high, and the volume in general. So to the right of that, you actually can see that the swap module is there. So right here on the right, and then you can select assets. So you can select like Bitcoin and Rune, and then you can actually trade Rune or trade it's just really the main swap module. So you can trade anything right there. But I think what's really cool about it is it defaults to showing you Rune. So like if you're looking at information about Rune, then you're like, I want to buy some Rune. You just hit connect wallet and then do a swap right here from the same page. So adding a lot of stuff like this, I think will be, kind of a cool user experience add.
You just gave me an idea, which maybe you thought of, maybe you haven't. But when I want to check on the price of a token, I go to CoinGecko. Just when I'm just looking at general market stuff. Is the price of Bitcoin up? Is the price of Bitcoin down? And in CoinGecko, because I signed up for an account with an email, I'm able to check different coins and have it as part of my portfolio. So when I go to my portfolio, I got the Bitcoin, I got my Ethereum, I got Hive. I forget what the hell else I have there. But since you're pulling the info from CoinGecko, is there a way that maybe we could create something like that within LeoDex where I could have my quote unquote my portfolio on LeoDex, head over to LeoDex, keep my ass off CoinGecko, not give them the clicks, give the clicks to LeoDex because I go there 2, 3 times, 4 times a day. And I know some people go a hell of a lot more. And that way, and maybe even have something on the front page or in the menu section where somebody can click on the pricing of the tokens and, just go and have the top 20 tokens. Like when you go to CoinGecko, you get the page where it gives you the price of the top 20 tokens. Just thinking of a way to keep the traffic off CoinGecko and put it on LeoDex because traffic still does help.
Yeah, traffic definitely still helps. And yeah, the portfolio page is actually one of the next things on the roadmap. So we're adding a page where you can track so this is actually where I think things get really interesting beyond, we kind of talked about the token page that you can see right now. One of the next major things is a portfolio page where you can see the portfolio of your assets. So let me change back to my share of the LeoDex UI. So like right now you have this wallets tab, right? Oh, I'm not sharing. So right now you have this wallets tab on the right. So you can see, which wallets you own. But the portfolio page will show you which wallets you own, like what Tass just described. It will also show you what I think is a really cool feature of centralized exchanges that I wish was on more dexes, but it's just really hard to do from a data standpoint, is your P&L. So you'll actually be able to see like your P&L on the assets that you hold. And the way it's doing that is it's tracking your previous swaps. So like if I had swapped 1 Bitcoin to whatever, 10 Ethereum, it's showing me my P&L on that swap. And then it's adding all my previous swaps to show me a total P&L on my portfolio based on the fluctuation of assets. So it's actually a really cool feature of other exchanges that I think is something that we should bring as an interface to these DEX protocols. Because I actually don't think any other DEX interfaces have that. So it's going to show you P&L, it's going to show you your assets, and it's also going to show you your swap history. So one thing you may have noticed is on the new version of LeoDex, there's no swap history. So on the old version, there's a button right here for your swap history. And on the new version, there's no button here. The reason why is because, like I said, we basically rewrote the entire version of the entire LeoDex application. And we decided not to write the swap history into this version because we're doing the big portfolio page, which will include your swap history there. So we didn't want to rewrite something that we were going to change anyways and waste time on it. So that is probably going to be one of the next major feature rollouts on LeoDex, in the coming weeks, is going to be, a portfolio page with P&L, with swap history, and the ability to track your assets. Again, very similar to how these centralized exchanges have those pages.
And that That's awesome. Yeah, you're right. That's not really on Dex's, but I was just saying my portfolio because that's what CoinGecko calls it. But what I was saying is, let's say there's a list of tokens I don't
I
own,
see
but
what
I'm
you're saying.
interested in. I'm keeping an eye on. And so when you go to that page where you pulled up the quotes or the coin info, is there any way in my portfolio, is there any way where I could set up like a watch list, if you will, to use a stock term, maybe have a watch list in there where I could have, 5 or 10 different coins or tokens that I'm watching, and maybe some I own, maybe some I don't. But then all of a sudden, all the information's right there, so I don't have to necessarily go hunt for, okay, here's the Bitcoin, here's the Litecoin, here's the Solana, here's the Hive. It's all in one place where I just scroll down and I say, oh, okay, Hive's up today, Bitcoin's down, Litecoin's down, Ethereum sideways, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. So more of a watch list. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'll put that on the roadmap. I didn't have it on there, but I think it's a good idea to do that because, there's a lot of opportunity there to say, okay, well, you're already on here for your watch list. Maybe you'll do your next swap through LeoDex. So yeah, I think that's a good idea.
Well, and again, at a minimum, Ahmed said in the threadcast, he goes to CoinGecko too. So if you have those of us going to CoinGecko to look up token information coming to LeoDex, that's just a lot more traffic going to LeoDex. And like you said, if that's there and somebody's playing around with it and they're keeping their watch list, like many of us keep on CoinGecko, maybe it's like, okay, I might as well
Right.
just swap this.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I put it on the roadmap.
Eljats asked, is it envisioned to bring limit orders on LeoDex, where LeoDex would aggregate the data from different protocols to offer the best price and liquidity conditions? I think it already does that. I mean, I don't know about limit orders.
Yeah, well, we talked about this a little bit on the AMA, but in terms of innovating, our goal here is that these protocols, because again, LeoDex is an interface to these 4 protocols. These 4 protocols are innovating a lot of these base layer financial technologies. So we don't have to go out and build stuff like limit orders. For example, Chainflip is working on their own version of that already. And Thorchain's app layer, which is Rujira, just launched in the past week. And they're working on perps as another good example, perpetual futures. So LeoDex will actually be able to offer perpetual futures as an interface to Rujira, which is on Thorchain. So if you see where the tide is going, these protocols are innovating a lot of features outside of just swaps. Swaps are obviously the core product, and then they're innovating a lot of other features now because swaps are working very well with streaming swaps, and Chainflip doesn't have streaming swaps. They've got something called Boost, but these different protocols have these innovations that keep happening. Or for example, Maya launched streaming swaps sometime last year, and LeoDex was already live, and we integrated streaming swaps afterwards. So you can see that when these protocols innovate things like streaming swaps or perps or limit orders, we're able to just tap into what they've already built and then just make a really good interface for it. So what I'm excited about for the future of LeoDex is that I've obviously always had interest in these financial technologies in crypto, but building things, wanting to go out and build all these things like collateralized lending and perps and limit orders, it's very difficult to do those base layer things. You need a very large team, and then you need to if your goal is not only to build those things, but then to also make them user friendly, it's that much harder. So what I love about this ecosystem is that we're able to focus on just making the best UI for these protocols, and then let the protocols innovate the features at the base layer in terms of financial technologies, and we'll just keep making the best UI for them. So, when perpetual futures come out on Rujira, you better believe that LeoDex is going to have perpetual futures that are just using Thorchain's app layer, but we just make a really good interface for them. So yeah, long story short, we are going to be adding all those things, but not because we're building them, because these protocols are building them, and we're just going to make a really good UI for them.
You might want to explain, since one is building them. What are perpetual futures? They're on Binance. Hell, Binance has Hive futures on there. But what are perpetual futures for those who don't know?
Essentially, they are just futures. So the perpetuals part is that they're just futures that never expire. If you know anything about futures, they're just contracts with specific end dates, with underlying assets. So perpetual futures are just futures that never expire, and futures are essentially kind of like a leveraged derivative. So what you're doing is, if you trade a futures contract, you're essentially trading an underlying asset like Hive or Rune or Bitcoin, and you're just trading the futures layer, which allows you to have leverage because you're trading a contract on the underlying asset. So, for example, Binance and these other exchanges have a lot of perpetual futures where you can trade Bitcoin at like a 50x leverage. So that means that for every dollar you put in collateral, you can trade $50 worth of Bitcoin. So if I put $1,000 into a perpetual futures trade on Binance, for example, I can trade $50,000 if I do 50x leverage worth of Bitcoin, and then I just have a liquidation price, and I have to make sure that if Bitcoin goes below my liquidation price, then I get liquidated. The really cool part about futures is that there's two sides to futures, so you can long and you can short. So right now, obviously on DEXs, you can't really short assets. You can't short Bitcoin or ETH or whatever. So adding perpetual futures actually adds the ability to short. So you'll be able to use, when Ruggiero launches perpetual futures and we build a UI for it on LeoDex, you'll be able to short Bitcoin on LeoDex, and it will short Bitcoin on Ruggiero, on Ruggiero's layer. So, it's a very, perpetual futures are a very big business in crypto because a lot of people want to go long and short. So you're offering a way, and they want leverage. So you're offering a way for not only people to go long with leverage, you're offering a way for people to go short, with leverage or without leverage, by trading these contracts.
Thank you for that explanation. I didn't know if the audience knew.
Yeah. I know you know what perpetual futures are.
Yeah, don't trade in them, but I know what.
Yeah, they can be dangerous. So they definitely can be dangerous. You need ample disclaimers. Like, Binance, for example, makes you take a test before you can trade perpetual futures on Binance. So it requires a lot of disclaimers.
Well, I mean, most exchanges require you to do some type of account upgrade, and like you said, it could be just a tacit questionnaire, even just to trade options, because they carry greater risk than just buying stocks or whatever. So
yeah, even like Fidelity and TradFi, like they do that when you trade options. They ask you about your income, they ask you about your options trading history, things like that. So
Eljat said, I would bet the Trump relatives will start using LeoDex when it'll have perpetual futures integrated. The Trump family will just set up their own DEX to trade.
They most likely will. They most likely will.
I mean, they're getting into everything, which I think is a positive sign. The sons are into it, so the old man's not going to allow his administration to go against crypto. So that's a positive.
I know we kind of talked about watch lists and stuff. So I just wanted to share one thing that is on this new update. So since we added, you can see on the left all these different networks. Obviously, these are all the different supported networks with assets that are available through all the different protocols that LeoDex now supports. So when you open this page, it shows you your tokens sorted by how much is in your wallet, USD value. You obviously can sort by name, so you can change that and it'll just sort by name. I like to sort by balance. I think it makes a lot of sense to do it that way. It just shows you what you have the most of in your wallet. Another thing you can do is you can favorite assets. So for example, let's say I trade a lot of Ethereum on Base. I can find Ethereum on Base right here, and I can click the star and I can favorite it. And then if I go to my favorites tab, you'll see that it's in my favorites tab along with, the other things I favorited like Bitcoin, ETH, Arbitrum, etc. So, another example would be like, let's say I trade a lot of Leo. I can favorite Leo, and then I go to favorites, and you'll see that it's in my favorites tab. So if you trade certain things frequently, it can make sense to put them in your favorites tab. And then, just a little, again, another little user experience item.
Yeah, one thing I think we should start talking about this more, and it's my opinion, but I think it's a sensible opinion. I only use a centralized exchange, and my exchange is Coinbase. I only use that when I'm dealing with fiat. I don't trade on Coinbase from token crypto to crypto. So to me, the only reason to use these centralized exchanges is if you're entering or exiting fiat. Other than that, you should use something like LeoDex if you're going from, Ethereum to Bitcoin, or you're going from whatever to whatever. Um, the advantage the centralized exchanges has is they don't have the blockchain fees because they're just pulling out their own liquidity, which maybe with a Bitcoin, okay, I can understand that. But with most of these chains, especially with the Ethereum forks, or if you're using the Arbitrum version or whatever, the fees are actually better than on Coinbase, because Coinbase, even though they're not hitting you with the blockchain fee, they're hitting you with fees. And so, like, just to go from like Ethereum to USDC on Coinbase one day, I was looking at it, it was like $50, and there was no blockchain transaction. It was just all that's what Coinbase wanted to charge me. So, keep that in mind, that the future of crypto to crypto, okay, fiat may always be on the centralized exchanges, but fiat crypto to crypto should be on the dexes as much as you can.
Yeah. Well, and like you said, you'll actually find that trading on DEXs has become very efficient. So while centralized exchanges don't explicitly tell you what fee they're charging, they are still charging you a fee.
Yeah, and then I don't know about other exchanges, but when I send Ethereum into Coinbase, they charge me just to send it in. They don't do it with like USDC, but when I send in Ethereum or something like that, it's like $20. It's like that's like loan shark.
Well, and what I dislike is that they don't tell you a lot of the things that they charge you for.
Let's see. LJats had another question. He's fallen today. Could a launch strategy be set up for when Hive-related tokens will be back on LeoDex with joint spaces with Thorchain, Chainflip, so the communities of those four plugged-in protocols would be informed and invited to cast more than a glance at this ecosystem? I'm going to jump in on this one, Cal, and then you can either agree with me or rebut me, whichever you feel. But to be honest with you, LJats, I think it's time to push the Leo community. This is a Leo-based initiative. This is not even on chain. LeoDex is actually off chain. It's a separate product. It's a product meant to appeal to the entire crypto sphere. And as much as we all want more people to come into Hive, we have to be honest. The whales that we're looking for to use LeoDex, they're not going to use in Leo. They're not going to use Peak D. They're not going to play Splinterlands. These are the people who are traders, they're investors, they're swappers, they're doing like Cal said, they're getting involved with perpetual futures and shorting to the tune of $50,000, $100,000, $300,000, and then 10xing it or whatever. And so you're after a different market. And the idea of trying to constantly push a blockchain, for lack of a better way of phrasing it, a network that is based upon, for the most part, blogging. And that's really all we've evolved to, a little bit of video, to me, is counterproductive. We've been trying that for years, and it got us nowhere. And so what Cal's doing now, from my understanding, is he's trying to accumulate these fees to bring that in, to buy the token, to build the value of the token, along with the social media that we all enjoy, along with the future of AI applications and AI features and AI services that have been talked about. And that's all under the Leo umbrella. Will some go to blogging, some go to threading? Yeah, maybe some do. But the point being, nothing garners more attention than a token taking off in price. I mean, we've fought it for years, but that's the reality. If a token is taken off and people see a token go from 2 cents to $2, that gets a hell of a lot of attention. And the way to do that, from my understanding, is let's get these revenue streams developed. Let's pull the money in. And then those of us who start to use Leo chat, the Leo AI chat, when that comes out and things of that nature, that can then be pushed in front of these people. And maybe that'll have a little bit more appeal. But trying to pull it in and trying to do all of this and promote all this stuff, by now it should be obvious. People on the outside don't care. You can run around Twitter all day talking about Hive, you can talk about threads. They're not leaving Twitter. They're not leaving X. They're not leaving YouTube. I mean, this should be evident. So now we have a product, in my opinion, that totally is divorced from that. It's external facing. And we know there's people out there doing big numbers on this stuff, even with just that Thor wallet, 600,000 in fees on one chain. That's pretty significant. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, Cal, but that's just
I agree with that. I think it's important for our economy to continue to grow, and I think that we've kind of hit the upper limits in terms of where we're going to go as just a social platform. So I think developing our capabilities as a DEX interface in this ecosystem that is growing rapidly, and the cross-chain DEX ecosystem is growing very rapidly. So developing a technology and an application in this arena, I think, is really important for us, as an ecosystem. And like I've said, my number one priority will always be, Leo. So the Leo token and growing the economy and the ecosystem itself, that's always my number one priority. So this has been my, realization in terms of where our ecosystem needs to go, is just focusing on building the best cross-chain product that we're able to build, and build one that, externally facing users, like you said, people that are swapping, hundreds of thousands and in reality, millions of dollars, per day and per month. In the world of crypto, there's a lot of people out there doing that. And, it's important that we just make an externally facing app that's really great, and focus on the core product, the core features like swapping, making it work flawlessly, and adding these really heavy usability features like, what I showcased, where you can swap from one wallet to another without having to leave the UI, without having to do anything, and just making it really simple, really seamless. And then over time, innovating the same way we did with Inleo, innovating new things like a portfolio page, and like that tokens page that I showed you, which will go live soon. Innovating those things and bringing those things to the world of cross-chain that nobody else has done is something that I think our team is uniquely positioned to do. And our community is uniquely positioned to make them great. So having you guys involved in the, iteration process is what I'm really looking forward to. The iteration cycle matters a lot to me. And I fully agree that, we should just focus on making a really good product for this cross-chain ecosystem and let it do what it does for the Leo token. I mean, you look at these other interfaces generating, thousands of dollars per day and hundreds of thousands of dollars per month. That's what we're tapping into. So this is a total addressable market that I think we have a really unique advantage in. And it's one that's also growing. So the cross-chain volume continues to grow every single month. And I think if you consider where it's going to be 10 years from now, because I like to look far out, it's going to be significantly higher than it is today. I would be surprised if it's not 1,000x bigger than it is today, 10 years from now. So this is a really great ecosystem for us to spend a lot of resources and time and energy building. So I'm very excited about the future of this. And we are pulling up on 2 hours. I saw a few people saying, wow, is this, I said, wow, this is still going. Yeah, it's definitely been a good one. And like I said, there's so much to cover, and I feel like we didn't even cover everything. So before we jump off, and Task, if you want to pull any more questions, I'll just show on the screen. We didn't do a chain flip swap yet. We did a Maya one and we did a Thorchain one. So let me show you a chain flip swap. I'm going to do ETH, ETH on Ethereum to USDT on ETH. So it's telling me it's going to take 3 minutes, and I'm just going to hit swap. Obviously, it's going to myself, and hit confirm, and then we're going to do the swap like we did all the others, and watch a chain flip swap go through. Yeah.
Yeah, while we're waiting on that, just to follow up on what you said before, and looking out into the future, and we don't know because, like you said, we're just piggybacking off of what these other protocols do. But I suggested on the AMA on Tuesday, like the idea, the concept of Leo Financial Network. And that's when you said, yeah, but it's based upon what the other entities are doing. But you can imagine these protocols working on different financial services like collateralized lending and things of that nature that ultimately can just be built into the UI that opens up an entirely different range of TAM, because now no longer is the market just looking for traders and investors, but now you're getting into a realm where people are looking at collateralized lending, either taking out a loan or doing some lending. Maybe the protocols open up. One of them does like micro lending or something like that, and this all just feeds into the same thing where it's like, okay, we'll do this and we'll take a little piece of the pie and move on.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that, again, I think we're just uniquely positioned to do really well in this ecosystem, and it's a big total addressable market. And, I think it's a good product for Leo. We've always been very financially focused. And I think this is a great thing for our tokenomics, and adding more utility to Leo through LeoDex as well. Having more staked Leo will give you, cheaper fees and whatnot. So yeah, I generally just think it's a really positive thing all around for us. And I think it's a good shift in terms of focus. In my opinion, we've really hit the ceiling of what we're capable of in the current state of things with a social media app, through InLeo. So I want to see our focus on LeoDex and, making it hyper successful in terms of, the fees that we generate and the Leo that gets bought automatically. I just shared a link in the Threadcast to the chain flip broker, which I'm on right now. If you see my shared screen, so you can see, obviously this is just from us testing, but the collected fees are $1. So you can track all that stuff there, and this tag will get changed to LeoDex once their PR goes through. So just wanted to show that, and then also I just did that chain flip swap, so you can see that it's working my swap right now. I believe it is. Oh, it's still sending. So you can see that it's still in progress, but you can see this is different than X Scanner. Obviously, this is Chain Flip's block scanner, but you can see all of the information that you might want to see throughout the life of a swap. And again, I found this by clicking View in Explorer from the LeoDex UI. And on this, another interesting thing is if you see brokers, you'll see the affiliate is us. So that's that CFLV address I mentioned before. And you'll see that we're making 10 cents on this swap, which is 0.45%. So. Yeah, iJats asked a good question. Can LeoDex's item in the InLeo homepage be moved so it's more visible? Yeah, we are going to move it to be like, towards the top of the menu. I also think in the not so distant future, we're going to add swapping directly into the InLeo wallet. So you're going to see that over time, we're going to kind of merge the two together in terms of like being able to seamlessly do things on both UIs that kind of go hand in hand. So like, maybe you'll make a trade, and if you can choose the option in the settings page of LeoDex to like add an InLeo account. And if you have a connected InLeo account, like you can make a trade and then share the trade, especially like when futures are live through Ruggira. You can make a futures trade and then like share your profit, your P&L on InLeo by clicking one button on LeoDex. So there's some cool crossover for sure that we can do. that we can do with in Leo and LeoDex. But again, focus right now is make LeoDex extremely successful, and let that affiliate revenue really start to flow in. So what we need from you guys is the LeoDex V3 update is about to go live. When we get off this call, give it a little bit of time, refresh a few times. You'll notice when it's live. Obviously, I've shown you a lot of the features that make it, what you'll see in V3. So you'll know when it's live. And when it is live, go out, make some trades, make some swaps, test everything, and give us feedback. It's helpful when you do the feedback threads, or if you go to Discord and do feedback. So we are going to be very hardcore about testing everything, making sure everything's flawless, and just continuing to push the needle forward. And what I love about LeoDex is that there's a very clear scoreboard, so you'll know if we're succeeding. You can check the places I've given you to go look at the affiliate revenue, and there's a very clear scoreboard in real time of how successful we are. So check the scoreboard regularly and make sure you're sharing LeoDex, and you're going to see some cool stuff happen. So it's going to be a dramatic shift that you're going to feel in terms of the focus of the Leo economy. But I think this is a really good focus for us. And, we've talked about the addressable market that's out there, the other interfaces that are generating very large amounts of revenue, and, having that revenue come in and 100% of it is buying Leo, I think is just going to be, something that you guys see the effects of right away. So with that said, and by the way, while we've been live, the Chain Flip team pushed the PR that shows the LeoDex label. So I will share a screenshot in the Threadcast now where you can see the LeoDex swap along with other swaps. And this is the LeoDex swap that I obviously just made right now while we've been live. But I will drop a screenshot of that in the Threadcast now. But Task, any closing thoughts before we let everyone go and explore LeoDex in the next couple of hours?
Well, yeah, you have put out a target there of, I think you said 4 million per month in swap volume. That's really nothing when you think about the entire spectrum of the DEX world, like you said, the cross-chain world. That's really peanuts. I mean, there's people who do bigger trades than that in one shot. So, and at 4 million in trades in a month, I mean, what type of revenue would we be looking at buying up Leo? And you just extrapolate out from there. So,
yeah, it's my target is 4.4 million a month in volume, and that's my target over the next 30 days. So over the next 30 days, I want to see us hit that target, and then from there grow. That is about 20,000 a month in affiliate revenue. So it's 20,000 a month in buying pressure on Leo, which is going to have a very dramatic impact. And that's kind of how I picked that number in terms of target volume. So, it's not going to be easy to get there. I mean, this is going to be probably the hardest thing we've ever done. And the update itself has been very difficult, but I think now the real work begins in terms of how do we get people onto LeoDex and using it. And a lot of people are, using other cross-chain UIs, and we've seen that their volumes are significantly higher than 4.4 million a month. Like in the last 24 hours, let's see here. In the last 24 hours, the total swap volume on all Thorchain and Maya UIs, not including Chainflip, is 11.5 million. So, we're talking about getting 4.4 million in a month. And I think it's extremely doable. Or another figure over the last 7 days, it's been $69 million swapped on Thorchain and Maya interfaces in the last 7 days. So what is that per month? That's 1.4, 2.8. Basically, call it 2.5 million a month is being swapped on Thorchain and Maya UIs. 2.5. I don't know where my head is going. 250 million. So a quarter of a billion in the last 30 days on Thorchain and Maya only. So we're talking about getting, what is that? 4.4 million, 4.4 divided by 250. We're talking about getting just shy of 2% of the monthly trading volume on all Thorchain and Maya interfaces. And again, not including Chainflip. And I do believe Chainflip is a little bit less competitive. There's less UIs that integrated Chainflip. So I think we have a lot of potential here.
Just need to promote it.
You'll see we're going to be heavy on X. One of the things I haven't announced yet, but we have a LeoDex X account. You'll see it in the X spaces right now. And we also have an InLeo X account. One of the big signals of this shift in focus is that later today, you'll see we are actually flip-flopping the LeoDex and the InLeo X accounts. So InLeo is about to become LeoDex on X, and then LeoDex will become InLeo. And this is just one of those things where we're signaling a big shift in where the Leo token economy is headed. I think the Leo price is obviously not financial advice, and I could be completely wrong on this, but if we are successful in tapping 2% or more of this volume out there, I think you're going to see the dramatic impacts of that in a way that we've never been able to do with just the social media app. So again, a lot of focus going into this. So thank you guys for coming to this launch party. It's been fun. Honestly, really smooth in terms of showcasing the V3 update. I hope you noticed there were no bugs. Not to say that there won't be no bugs, but at least there were no bugs during the live showcase. And we've spent a lot of time testing all these different routes and just testing it as much as possible. So when the update goes live, keep refreshing LeoDex, and when the update's live, go out and test all the different routes, test all the different wallets, and give us your feedback. I would love to hear it. And if you guys make tutorials, make sure you tag me on the tutorial, and I'll make sure you get upvoted. So thanks for joining, and thanks, Task, for co-hosting with me. Any closing thoughts?
The only closing thought, and damn you're going to be pulling my ass onto X, but follow the LeoDex account or the InLeo account, which will become LeoDex. And when you see posts, retweet them, upvote them, leave a comment, do all that shit that helps out a little bit. But the difference between what people are doing, and we know what people I'm talking about, and what's going on here is now we're actually talking about promoting a product or a service. We're promoting something specific that somebody can use, and it's not real abstract, and it's just, okay, why should you use this? Cheaper fees, quicker trades, multi-chain swaps, all of that.
Yep. And Simple Game left us with, you don't own enough Leo. And with that, thanks for joining, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday for the AMA.